My father's text lit up the screen before sunrise. No deadbeats this year. Only your sister and her family. Short, cold. It told me I wasn't invited. I stared at it twice before replying. Got it? Enjoy yourselves. Polite enough to sound unfazed. Honest enough to sting later. The silence afterward felt familiar. Clean. Practiced. Heavy. Same pattern. Different year. Marcy gets the stage. I get the static. Outside, snow slid down. The valley in slow waves. Inside, my coffee went cold beside the mortgage papers. $8 million worth of deadbeat. This year, I wasn't waiting for an invitation. They closed a door. I built the house. Before we start, tell me where you're watching from. City, state, or country. I always like knowing who's out there, listening quietly tonight. When I was 13, I built a small robot in our garage. It could lift blocks and follow voice commands. I ran inside, grease still on my hands. Dad didn't look up from his newspaper. That's nice, he said. Your sister's solo went great last night. Mom gasped like he'd announced world peace. My certificate ended up under a pile of bills. A year later, I built a drone from spare parts. It hovered for 7 seconds before landing clean. Mom watched once, said neat. Then praised Marcy's debate team. They were flying to nationals. At 17, Marcy tripped over my project cables. She screamed like I'd done it on purpose. Dad stormed and furious. You could have killed her, he said. They took my tools. My allowance, my voice. By college, I'd stopped, expecting fairness. When Caltech accepted me, Dad said, that's far from home. Mom said, we'll visit when things calm down. They never did. Marcy's wedding came next. 300 guests. A quartet. Chandeliers like stars. I wasn't in the lineup. Dad handed me a flashlight. You're good with wires. Help the lighting guy. I spent that night crawling under tables while they smiled for photos. A year later, I couldn't afford Thanksgiving travel. Dad said, don't worry about it. So I stayed in my dorm, eating vending machine noodles. I scrolled their dinner online. Captioned family is everything. My chair wasn't there. That's when I understood. I wasn't unlucky. I was optional. Silence had rules, and I followed them. Speak less. Work quietly. Ask for nothing. They weren't forgetting me. They were practicing it. I learned silence costs interest. After college, I worked in a small security firm downtown. 12 hours a day fixing other people's mistakes. When bonuses came, my manager took the credit. I kept my job and my silence. In 2016, I quit. I started my own company, Centrier. From a one-bedroom apartment, I had one desk, one laptop, and a coffee machine that coughed. I coded day and night, meeting clients in coffee shops. It worked until it didn't. A client claimed my update broke their system. They stopped paying and threatened to sue. That one call pulled the floor out from under me. I asked my parents for help. Dad said, you made your choices. Mom said Marcy's firm is doing great. I called my sister next. She laughed, said, already getting sued, then hung up. I sat in the dark that night, surrounded by printed contracts. My phone buzzed once more. Uncle Ray, what's wrong? Kid, you sound wrecked. I told him everything. He listened, then said, you're not finished. You're just early. He wired money the next morning and found me a lawyer. The case settled quietly. When I thanked him, he said, now rebuild it right this time. 6 months later, I shut Centria down. Ray introduced me to new clients, people who trusted my work. I took small jobs and finished everyone on schedule. By 2020, I'd saved enough to try again. I named it Shield Path. No partners, no noise, just a clean system that worked. I rented a small office above an auto shop. The floor creaked. The heater rattled. I didn't care. Every morning started with cold coffee and broken code. Every night ended with something fixed. Then the fire came. A short circuit sparked behind the server wall. Smoke filled the room before I smelled it. I ran back inside, grabbed what I could. My wrist burned, lungs on fire, drives half melted. Insurance called it faulty wiring. No payout. Ray called again. got a guy who can recover data, he said. The man lived outside town, quiet and stubborn. 5 days later, I had half my code back. The other half one rebuilt from memory. 3 months later, Shield Path ran faster, cleaner, stronger. I sent new demos to hospitals and small retailers. One hospital chain asked for a pilot. A regional retailer signed a trial the next week. I hired one assistant, then 2 more. We moved from the creaking loft to a clean office. Proof. Finally louder than excuses. Proof stacks higher than praise. If this were your family, what would you do? Comment 1 to keep peace quietly. Comment 2 to ask for proof, even in public. The first big offer arrived on a quiet Tuesday. An email from a conglomerate known for buying everything. 50 million. All cash, clean terms, fast timeline. I sent it to my lawyer and waited. He called within an hour. Steady and calm. It's real. We can negotiate protections and transition. I read the draft twice. Then called Ray. You'll laugh, I said. We have a buyer. He whistled through his teeth and went quiet. Do it right, he said. Protect your people. The diligence dragged for weeks, then clicked into place. We signed in a glass conference room downtown. Lawyers traded red lines until the signatures finally landed. The wire cleared. The deal was done. I wired bonuses to the early hires the afternoon. I set aside a share for Ray. No debate. Partners? I told him. From the worst day forward, he cleared his throat and said nothing for once. I didn't buy cars or watches or headlines. I bought silence and room to think. A mountainside lodge in Colorado fit the plan. Backup power and a storm pantry. Hiller ran it with a list and a clock. Every morning, I stood by the window with coffee. Every night, I checked alarms, locks, and doors. Then December brought the familiar text from Dad. No deadbeats this year. Only your sister and family. I read it twice and put the phone down. My hands didn't shake. I called Ray first. Christmas at my place, I said. Bring everyone. He said yes before I finished the sentence. Hilla booked flights, shuttles, and rooms without chatter. Cousins confirmed, old friends confirmed, neighbors from childhood confirmed without hesitation. 2 aunts offered to bring desserts. To former engineers confirmed. Grandpa texted a single snowflake emoji. I printed the guest list and checked the pantry. The fireplaces were serviced and ready. A piano tuner came and left a receipt. People writhed under heavy clouds. An early dusk. Luggage stacked by the door. Boots lined the hall in patient rows. Someone opened the piano and played softly. Adults settled. Kids tested every staircase and rug. Photos went online without a plan or push. Christmas at Sylvia's lodge. One cousin wrote. The valley showed through the windows in every shot. Within an hour, my phone filled with tags. By afternoon, the photos reached church friends and old neighbors. Then the calls began, hopping through the family tree. Where are you? Dad asked Mark first. At Sylvia's, Mark said. Colorado. Another cousin answered the same way. Another aunt did too. Dinner was steady, warm, and organized. No speeches, no stage. No spotlight. People ate, laughed, and passed plates. No one mentioned my parents. No one needed to. They asked who paid. I answered with receipts. The next morning, my phone started buzzing before sunrise. Dad's name flashed again and again. I answered on the 3rd ring. Morning, I said. Morning. He snapped. You humiliated us. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't say Merry Christmas. You invited everyone, he said. Our family, our friends, without us. I kept my tone even. I invited the people who show up. You stole our holiday, he said. No, I said. I rebuilt it. Mom's voice cut in from the background. Do you have any idea how this looks? I could hear her pacing. You embarrassed the family, she said. The photos are everywhere. That's called attendance. I said, you might try it next year. Then came the real question. Dad's voice dropped low. How did you even afford all that? You remember Shield Path? I asked. Your computer thing? Yes, I said. I sold it. For how much? $55 million, I said. The line went dead silent. When he spoke again, his tone had changed. Your mother and I supported you through college. He said, you wouldn't be where you are without us. Mom added, we're your family. Sylvia, we deserve a family. Cher supported me. I asked, you ignored me for years. You cut me out of holidays and photos. Dad exhaled through his nose. Don't be ridiculous. We're still your parents. That isn't a contract. I said, it's a memory. Grandpa walked into the kitchen, rope and coffee mug in hand. Put it on speaker. He said, I did. Morning, Jerry, Grandpa said. You'd have some nerve. Dad, my father said startled. Don't dad me, Grandpa growled. You ignored this girl for years. Then asked for money. Mom stammered something about fairness. Grandpa cut her off. Fair would have been showing up when she graduated. You're ashamed. You should be. Silence stretched. Then Dad muttered, we'll talk later, and hung up. Grandpa took a sip of coffee. Better than caffeine, he said. Better than closure, I replied. He laughed. They'll get over it. You're free of them now. I nodded, certain and steady. Freedom needs rules, not speeches. Here are mine, I said, voice calm. No money, gifts, loans, or access under any pressure. No visits without notice and a welcome from me. No demands dressed as advice or tradition. No more public shaming to move me. Respect first. And consistently for a long time. Apologies in writing, not over a crisis. Therapy if they want real repair. Everything else is distance and quiet. Grandpa listened and nodded once. Those are good rules, he said. Keep them simple and visible. I saved the list as a note and locked my phone. Keys are vows. My consent is. Snow kept falling through the morning. The house woke slowly, warm and steady. Hella moved like clockwork in the kitchen. Coffee, pancakes, plates, and quiet greetings. People drifted in, still smiling from last night. Grandpa sat by the window with his mug. Ray argued about pie and lost again. Kids begged for one more sled run. No one asked about my parents. No one needed to. I checked the alarms and delivery logs. Everything was simple and on time. I liked it that way. Order without permission. Family without permission. Round noon, my phone buzzed again. Marcy this time, not Dad. Her message was careful and plain. I'm sorry, Sylvia. I was jealous for some years. I followed them and didn't think for myself. I see it now. I'm sorry. I read it twice, then locked my phone. I didn't reply. Not yet. Apologies take time, not speed. The day rolled on without drama. Board games, dishes, naps, and shirt walks. Ray found the old photo albums. He pointed at a picture of 13-year-old me. The robot sat crooked on the workbench. Look at you, he said. Still here. I nodded and closed the book. Still here and finally home. Evening settled early over the valley. We set one extra place. No one took it. I didn't change the count. Before dinner, I opened the note again. The rules fit on a single screen. They weren't threats. They were respect, listed clearly. If my parents want peace, they'll know how. If they don't, the door stays locked. Either way, I keep the keys. I wasn't invited back. I didn't need to be. If this resonated, please like the video and share it with someone exhausted. Subscribe to stay for the next story.